It's Illegal Shift coming to you from the One More and I'm Out of Here studios. I'm John. I'm an actual 911 dispatcher. That's right. You're tuning into a sports show where you're listening to that guy that answers the phone when you call an ambulance for your aunt. Joining me as always is Jason Kiefer. He's a firefighter. He's also the owner of this channel, and anything I say, he's legally responsible for. Kiefer, how are you doing?
Well, I just paid the retainer fee for my attorney, so I'm perfect. I'm good.
Yeah, but your attorney's Rob, so
Out of way.
you're in trouble. How was your Christmas? How was your New Year's? We were just recounting before the show started that it's been 3 weeks since we've done this, and I'll get into why that's a huge problem for me. But how have you been?
Good. Christmas a little different this year, but made it through. New Year's was good, so we're hopefully gonna go into a good 2025. Looking forward to it.
We're all really counting down to the inauguration of President Trump, right? I mean, that really sort of obliterated the holidays this year. We didn't really get into Christmas spirit. We didn't get into no one was singing Auld Lang Syne. It was just we're all just kind of looking forward to Inauguration Day, and we're all clenched tighter than a fish's asshole that something terrible is going to happen before then. So, joy, trepidation. It's just like Christmas dinner at a Bates family get together. So
I was gonna ask, how was your Christmas and New Year's?
Oh, just stretches of boredom, existential dread, terror. Also, I mentioned before the show to Kiefer, but I suppose you all should know it too, is that I got caught again yesterday trying to lay down behind someone's car that was backing out of a parking spot. These damn backup cameras getting me every time. Kiefer, did you want to show off your in a continuation of bits? Did you want to show off your special hoodie there?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Look, he's got his Donald J. Trump hoodie. It's got the presidential seal or something on it. I was
Actually,
showing him.
it's actually embossed here on the left shoulder too. It's pretty awesome.
Embossed. He likes. That's why when he's touching it, he's not just rubbing his own nipple. He's trying to feel the embossed.
That's right.
Logo there. And if you look at mine, you'll see nothing because it's a picture of my future. Kiefer's like, I have to laugh for the camera because he made that joke before the show. So much has happened in the world of sports. So much has happened with football. Like, I don't know if you realize this, Keith, but like the last picks that we made were for week 16. We missed out on the last 2 weeks of football, and so much happened. And now the regular season's actually over. I mean, the last time we talked, the Patriots still had 2 divisional games left to play, and now they don't even have a head coach. That's how much has actually changed in the last couple of weeks. And we should never let 2 weeks go by, especially during football season, ever again, because I remember this show in the middle of the summer where you're like, hey, Shohei Ohtani's betting again. And I'm just like, oh, yes, the hurler for the Los Angeles team. And it's just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I don't enjoy it. But right now, we could get the most out of it. In fact, we should record extra episodes and then release them later as reruns, so that like during the summer we're like making reference to football that happened months and months and months ago. But we do have the playoffs to talk about. We have a lot of other things going on. We could talk about how the Bears have basically given up all hope, and we'll break into that a little bit. Do you want me to go ahead and pay the bills?
Pay the bills.
I don't know if I'm supposed to recognize certain sponsors on every show, because it's like they usually just pay us like, oh, for one show a week, make sure you mention a ghost bed or whatever, because that's how it all started. But we like to be grateful towards our sponsors, and we also want people to buy ghost beds using our offer code. Otherwise, ghost bed's going to be like, get the hell out of here. You're not doing anything for us. Why do we care? So we want you to go buy a ghost bed. It's the most comfortable bed on earth. Use the offer code Wolfpack. I don't know why that's our offer code, but it sure is. So go over there, go to ghostbed.com, scroll through everything that they have. They have everything there for you, whether it's beds, mattresses, cooling technology of all kinds of adjustable frames, everything you need to customize your sleep. I know what you're thinking. It's 2025. It's the future. I don't need to sleep. Elon Musk is going to make something so that I don't have to sleep. Or I'm going to have some kind of pill that gets pushed on us by Pfizer that's going to eliminate the need for sleep. Well, you're an idiot. And you're gonna turn on into one of those guys who's got a rifle up in a school clock tower, and we're all gonna be doing a true crime breakdown about you if you don't go to sleep. For the love of God, go to sleep. Get some good dreams, good memories. Being awake is unbearable. I don't even know how I do the show because I have to wake up to do it. And every day I wake up, by the way, in a panic over what show I have to do today because I don't remember which one it is. I'm very bad at remembering the days.
You're a busy man.
Yes. Also, the show is brought to you by Halliburton. It's an American multinational corporation and the world's second largest oil service company. Well, you get on at Halliburton, I believe you can become number one. And it's responsible for most of the world's fracking operations. It employs 55,000 people who would be unemployed otherwise. Thank you, Halliburton. Through hundreds of subsidiaries, affiliates, branches, brands, and divisions in more than 70 countries. Folks, that's almost half the countries. The company, though incorporated in the United States, has dual headquarters in Houston and Dubai. So that's cool that they have two headquarters. So they really, they thought of it all.
That's how you know you're a big deal.
Yeah, they've been criticized for a couple controversies, like their involvement with Dick Cheney, who was the Secretary of Defense. Then the CEO of the company, and he was the CEO, during and the vice president during the Iraq War and that whole Deepwater Horizon thing. Kind of, they're willing to own up to some of those things. Also, the show's brought to you by Duke's Mayonnaise. Oh, Lordy, what a mayonnaise. We're going to get a mayonnaise, and it ought to be Duke's. Don't fall for that helmet shit. That's bad for you. All right. Keith, where do we start? Probably.
Well, let me start by putting the disclaimer out. I'm glad I got retainer for an attorney. Since
but it's Rob.
Halliburton's going to come in and be like, yeah, we're not sponsoring you.
You and Rob are both going to be cellmates, and I'm going to get off scot-free.
You'll end up being our fucking prison guard. You'll go back into the system.
Yeah, I'll go back into the system and somehow. I promise you, I will be harsh but fair. Every terrible thing I do to you, you will have deserved. So. All right, let's talk about those crazy Bears. They're not even thinking about success anymore. If they want to hire Mike McCarthy, they just gave up. What's that about? Mike McCarthy, his contract with the Cowboys ending in 4 days probably. He's not going to be the coach anymore.
I think I said his contract is technically up January 15th.
We're getting there.
If I read it right.
Yeah, my prediction, of course, would be I've got a couple of predictions. Maybe I'll save them for the end. But this is from Yahoo Sports, the pinnacle of sports reporting, which, by the way, if you did not know, pinnacle means the best. Bears reportedly request permission from the Cowboys to interview head coach Mike McCarthy. The search for a new Chicago Bears head coach is on in earnest with the conclusion of the NFL's regular season, and it reportedly includes a surprising new candidate. This per ESPN. So although I said this was the pinnacle of sports reporting, they're referring to someone else, which is okay because I'm referring to Yahoo. Do you see how the circle just perpetuates itself? No one really knows what's going on. We're all just asking each other. Kind of makes you wonder where news starts, huh? But I don't want to be too philosophical. The Bears requested permission from the Dallas Cowboys on Monday to interview their head coach, Mike McCarthy. Per the report, the Bears are awaiting a response from the Cowboys and owner Jerry Jones. McCarthy, then why is this all out in the public? Who leaked this? McCarthy is under contract through January 14th when his 5-year deal with the Cowboys expires. Until then, Cowboys have exclusive negotiating rights with him. If the Cowboys don't re-sign McCarthy by then, and they don't grant the Bears' request in the meantime, Chicago would have the option of interviewing McCarthy as a free agent after January 14th. Do you want to hear my conspiracy theory?
I would love to hear it.
Mike McCarthy just has a friend somewhere over in the Bears organization, and they said, hey, in order to help Mike McCarthy be retained by the Cowboys and to help him get a raise, why don't we just send a little note over to Jerry Jones saying, hey, the Bears are interested in interviewing Mike McCarthy. They don't have to really be interested. They don't even really have to interview him. I mean, he could come down there and they can like have a beer or something, but you can call that an interview, I guess. But I'm guessing that Mike McCarthy just has a friend somewhere over in the Chicago organization who not only put a bug in Jerry's ear saying, hey, someone else is interested in your man, but also leaked it to the press so that Jerry would not only be under the pressure of losing his coach to an NFC rival, but also having all of that happen publicly, which is the more important part.
Right.
So you ever want to know why things happen? I guarantee you it's because McCarthy just has a friend over in the Bears organization. Go ahead.
No, I think you're right. It's enough to get Jerry Jones to think, because I know that the one article that I was reading, it said Jerry Jones left it open as to whether he's going to extend McCarthy, but I feel that if he was going to do it, it would have been done already.
I feel that way too. The thing is that I think Mike McCarthy knows that too. And I think Mike McCarthy knows that he's not even going to the Bears. But it's gamesmanship. It's the same way CeeDee Lamb was holding out before the season started. Yeah. He wants to say, hey, you know, I'm a hot commodity. There are other teams interested in me. And the most important thing is not tricking Jerry, because I'm not sure that Jerry would be tricked by something like this. As a Dark Lord of the Sith, very little tricks Jerry Jones. Okay. But it's about saving face, right? So now what Jerry's going to be thinking about, because we understand Jerry Jones' psychology, he goes, I don't want to let someone from my organization go and have them go to the Bears where they have Caleb Williams and maybe, you know, some kind of prospect for a future, which I don't know that the Bears have that, but he doesn't want, he will not want Mike McCarthy to succeed somewhere else. The key to understanding Jerry Jones is he thinks this way. I would rather have all of the people around me fail than see them be successful somewhere else.
You're going to fail with me.
You stay here. You stay in this car. We're driving over this cliff together. I will not see you get out.
We're pulling a Thelma and Louise right now.
Thelma and Louise. That is literally what he wants. So where do the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy stand? McCarthy coached this season without a contract extension after leading the Cowboys to a single playoff victory in 4 seasons. After winning the NFC East in 2023, the Cowboys were blown out at home in a wild card game that dipped John's soul into a bath of bubbling acid. It made him question everything he ever knew. And the Packers defeated them, and Mike McCarthy did not get a new deal. The Cowboys were then one of the league's biggest disappointments in 2024. That is not true. You have to be appointed before you can be disappointed. I had no appointments. I was on this show saying, holy shit, we just got our asses handed to us in a franchise record way. In a way which like embarrasses the expansion 1960 Dallas Cowboys. Defeated so badly and humiliated so badly. And I said, we are not going to be good next season. Watch Jerry Jones not make good decisions, because I knew everything that was in the mix. And I knew that we don't mix well at the Dallas Cowboys, and that we were not going to make any good decisions. And sure enough, we decided to play this season without a running back, which is a weird decision. Anyway, we went 7-10, and that left us well out of playoff contention. We didn't even have hopes like you did. At least you had the burden of hope. We didn't have that. As of Monday, Jones has left his intentions about McCarthy unclear. He offered a non-committal word salad when asked repeatedly about McCarthy's future and the teams following. So the season-ending loss to the Washington Redskins. I kind of follow the time frame I've done in the past, Jones said about the decision in the clearest of his 3 minutes of remarks about it. So he went on and talked about it for a long time and didn't say a whole lot. Absolutely, McCarthy told reporters when asked if his preference is to remain the Cowboys head coach. I have a lot invested there. Again, he says I have a lot invested there. Sunken cost fallacy is what we call that, Jerry. It's a psychological phenomenon in which people cannot walk away from a failure. I mean, I like the idea that someone can't walk away from a failure. It's like the only prospect that I have for love. But you should not be using that fallacy with Mike McCarthy. Would he even be a good fit for the Bears? Really, anyone would. I mean, the Bears are so broken and beaten down.
If you have a pulse,
yeah,
fine. At least for a year.
The graphic says, that they don't even contemplate success anymore. The Bears, they're pretty much the me of football teams. broken down and not even really, their sights are low. If the Cowboys and McCarthy don't work out a new deal, could McCarthy end up in Chicago? According to Monday's report, the Bears are clearly interested. Again, this is what we call in swordsmanship. This is called a feint. This is when you pretend that you are hurt or sad or tired or don't want to fight anymore, and you kind of play possum a little bit. And then when the other guy comes in there to get you, just stab him a little bit with a little fencing spear thing, the foil that you got there. So this is not a serious attempt at all. The franchise is at critical juncture as it approaches its second season with quarterback Caleb Williams. You say that it's critical, but they do this every year. Every time they get a new quarterback, they have their coach that was there, and then they fire that coach. And then the second year, they have a new quarterback who doesn't have it. They did this with Fields. They did this with Trubisky. The last three new quarterbacks they've done that. So this is just par for the course for them. Go ahead, Keith.
We're two things. We're live, and looking on McAfee's show, the Bears plan to interview Pete Carroll, which I knew he was going to be interviewing for multiple jobs, but the Bears are going to interview Pete Carroll.
He's a better coach than Mike McCarthy is.
I don't disagree with that. Also, Falk wants to know what drink you have in the comments. You told me to remind you to look at the comments, so I'm reminding you.
I was going to say, don't tell me what Brittany says. It's a red orange beverage. It was 80 cents. Look, what you need to see here is it says reduced on it. That's why I bought it.
And it has cyanide in the.
It says reduced price. Really, the reduced sticker is just, I could easily apply it to me. I'm reduced.
It's the only drink in the cooler that had cyanide.
It's definitely got some chemicals in there that are not good for me. You'll see here that part of it has been taken out with someone's Sharpie. So they didn't want me to know what was in here. Not joking. It's clearly a Sharpie has gone through that.
Clear as day. It's reduced because I marked the barcode.
I'm leaning into it. All right. The franchise is at a critical juncture. The first was largely a disaster and prompted the Bears to fire head coach midseason for the first time in team history. And the Bears are an old team, people. Matt Eberflus, who will still make $500,000 every 30 seconds because he's a genius. And I wish that I could be a fired head coach as my job. Was on the hot seat after coaching the Bears to a 10-24 record in the first two seasons. When he couldn't provide a competent answer for his game mismanagement in a Thanksgiving game collapse. We all remember that when he just forgot the rules of time management.
Right.
Bears brass had enough. They fired Eberflus the following day while he was in the middle of a meeting about how they were going to play the 49ers.
I totally envy that guy. Totally.
I know and you got to envy him. We're all oh man, he's the first Bears coach to ever be fired midseason. He makes so much money. We actually did a breakdown.
I love how you broke it down. That was perfect.
What Eberflus makes per day, compared to me, some chump who saves people's lives for a living. What's that, Keith?
I said I could totally be a failure for that type of money.
Oh,
completely fine with it.
I'm ready. I'm already a failure. Just pay me.
You're just a broke failure, just like me.
Yeah. The next Bears head coach will be tasked with developing Williams, providing a stability on the sideline following the years of mismanagement in a playoff drought that dates back to 2020. What's weird is, to put it all in historical context, the Bears have been to the Super Bowl more recently than the Dallas Cowboys. Nuts. As an 18-year-old NFL head coaching veteran with stops in Dallas and Green Bay, McCarthy is the definition of stability. Yeah, not winning, but stability.
Mediocrity, maybe.
Well, yes, exactly. The Bears would be happy to be going 500 every year, or as close to it as they possibly can with the schedule. And a coach who's garnered the respect of his Cowboys players. Yeah, the players like him. A former quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator, his background is attractive to a team that's looking to develop a young quarterback. He's also a coach with a lengthy history of game mismanagement, just like Eberflus, that could trigger some unwelcome flashbacks in Chicago.
Jerry Jones would actually make McCarthy pay. If he were to fire him, he'd make him pay him back for the time management versus actually paying him.
Probably. He'd be a hard sell for fan base that watched McCarthy coach the rival Packers for 13 seasons. I don't know that. I don't think that they wouldn't embrace him. I think that stuff happens so much now that I don't think they would care anywhere. And despite a Super Bowl, I mean, this is not exactly Buddy Ryan of the Eagles coming over to the Cowboys. This is not exactly that level. And despite a Super Bowl victory with the Packers, McCarthy's teams in Green Bay and Dallas have repeatedly and sometimes spectacularly fallen short of expectations in the postseason. Again, only on those occasions in which expectations were had. Is that a resume for the Bears that are ready to take on with Williams' future at stake? Only time will tell. Don't worry. They will ruin Caleb Williams' future. They can worry the future and career of any quarterback. But first things first, the ball is firmly in Jones's court. I don't like the mixed metaphor. That's some sort of basketball reference, and I don't like it. With a deadline on McCarthy's decision looming next week. So what will happen? My prediction. Number one, McCarthy will be allowed to walk, but only if Mike Zimmer becomes the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He's currently the defensive coordinator, the former head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and he's a Jerry's boy, just like Jason Garrett was.
I think that's a good move. Me personally.
I don't know. Could happen.
I was hoping he was going to get the Bengals head coaching job before Taylor because he was the Bengals defensive coordinator and flourished here.
You're allowed to like Mike Zimmer. That is fine. The other thing that could terribly happen is that we wind up with Deion Sanders or Jason Witten as our head coach.
I like Deion Sanders too.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
I like it for you.
Do you know if we got Deion Sanders as the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, you know what it would do? Generate a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
Which is probably what
Jerry wants.
It's going to be a guiding reason about why we would do that. But let's stop talking about all the reasons why I don't have to go on anymore and go over to Mike Vrabel. He's this other guy. He's a big deal. Mike Vrabel's one of several people competing for a position over at the New England Patriots. Mike Vrabel is expected to be among the candidates for that position that's open there. Let me change the graphic at the bottom. Where's that graphic? Oh, I already changed it.
There.
God damn it. I need to drink more of my energy drink.
Drink more of that cyanide. Does it smell like chloroform? It might. Is that a different shade of chloroform?
Maybe. I wish it was chloroform because then I could sleep. Anyway, he's among the candidates to be open for the New England Patriots for the head coach job. But they aren't the only NFL team with interest in the three-time Super Bowl champion. That's right. He's a three-time Super Bowl champion. Mm-hmm. Don't look at his recent resume where he was like a coaching consultant and head of like personnel management at the Cleveland Browns or the head coach for the Tennessee Titans because like those are not places where you're going to see good Vrabel material. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports Tuesday morning that in addition to the Patriots, the New Orleans Saints, the New York Jets, and the Chicago Bears all have interest in Vrabel. By the way, everything going on with the New York Jets right now is hilarious. I just want to say that I think it's funny. Their pain. The Boston Herald's Doug Keed? I don't know. Some guy named Doug reported Tuesday that Vrabel is interviewing with the Bears on Wednesday. Vrabel reportedly interviewed with the Jets last week. Vrabel spent 8 seasons with the Patriots as a player from 2001 through 2008 and played an important role in Bill Belichick's defense as a linebacker. He was the Tennessee Titans head coach for 6 seasons from 2018 through 2023 and made 3 playoff appearances during that span. Okay, that's better than I thought. Like, I don't have good memories of the Tennessee Titans. Like, they never stick. I don't think it's because I never see them play. And I was looking at through some Week 18 highlights, and I'm like, oh, look, it's the Oilers. And I'm just like, they're back. It didn't even occur to me that it was the Titans. I was very confused by that, even though I know well about it. It's just like that's how.
What a way to throw shade, though, at Houston when you go play Houston and you're wearing the Oilers shit.
Well, that's a whole thing.
I know. We could actually do a whole show on that, probably.
We could do a whole show on that, and we needed to talk about it because people are confused because, people like J.J. Watt have said that those colors, belong to Houston and that they have the Oilers legacy, and you're forgetting about how Bud Adams hated Houston and left in disgrace and disgust and the whole love you blue thing. Anyway, we'll do that during the off season because as it turns out, everything going on with the Houston Texans and Tennessee Titans happened a long fucking time ago, and we can just discuss it at any time. It doesn't have to be today.
And we also need to come up in the off season with some more like true crime sports shit.
Oh, we'll get into it.
Yes.
I've been watching.
But to your point with Tennessee, like Tennessee's just always been that mediocre team or less than mediocre team typically. Now we had to play them in the playoffs. Was it last year to continue on, or no, the year before? I'm sorry, the year before.
They play spoilers all they ever do.
And that was a huge deal. It was a big game, but I mean they're always kind of mediocre. So I mean you're not missing much, and they can't keep a quarterback. They really don't have a quarterback. So you're not missing much. You don't see many highlights either if you're watching ESPN or scrolling through the social media webs. You don't see much of them. So
not unless you're literally watching a show that literally shows you a clip of every game. No, you don't usually see anything from the Titans. NBC Sports Boston's Phil Perry reported Monday that league sources are anticipating that Vrabel's old team will make a hard push to bring him back. There is something weird about loyalty and brand recognition. And I say that insofar as a person can be a brand, but like Jared Mayo was part of the New England Patriots. And that's why part of the reason it has to be the reason why he got to succeed Bill Belichick as coach. But it's also why we talk about guys like Jason Garrett, Jason Witten, and Mike Zimmer and Deion Sanders as part of the Dallas Cowboys legacy and futures, because there's a certain amount of comfort that comes with people that you know. And I think for some reason in a league that is driven a lot by money and selling tickets, that if you want to generate hope for your fans, which is all based on hope, baby, it's all based on like your stock is entirely, it's hope futures that you're selling. You want to give fans a reason to look forward to games in the fall. And Vrabel could be a reason why they would do that, even if he's just mediocre or middling, or the Mike McCarthy of the AFC. They might still push for that. The Patriots are also reportedly requesting to interview Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who, by the way, no matter what, will be able to go wherever the hell he wants to go. He has refused head coaching jobs this season so that he could stay with the Lions, which was a smart move because they're the number one NFC seed, which is shocking to me. The idea that I live in an era in which the Lions are the best team in the NFC and also the Bills are good. I don't know. Anything could happen anymore. Ben Johnson, who's arguably the top head coach candidate in this cycle. The Patriots fired Jared Mayo on Monday before he even got back to his office after they beat the Buffalo Bills 23-16. I know what you're saying. That's so cold that he went out on a win and they fired him. Well, he ruined the draft for them. So instead of having like the first overall pick, they're probably going to be like number 4 or something.
And I just looked Vrabel's record up just because I wasn't sure as a head coach.
Go for it.
His career record, that's regular and postseason, 56-48. So, I mean, he's got somewhat of a winning head coaching record.
That sounds like pure gold to the Bears, I will tell you.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Patriots finished 4-13, which I was looking at the standings and how who's going to qualify for the playoffs, and I loved it. I thought it was delicious because for 20 fucking plus years, the Patriots were just the team to beat every single year. It's Tom Brady and the Patriots every year, and I knew people who didn't know or like or appreciate football in any other era where they grew up and they were like 8 years old and Tom Brady was already the quarterback. And I said, you just wait, man. Like, you just take this all for granted. Like, I took the Cowboys for granted in the 90s. You think this is going to last and go on forever. But you will see the day when the Patriots are nothing special. They're just some fucking team.
Yep.
And they'll have a season like this where they went 4-13. And I love it.
Still hard to wrap your mind around it, though. Like, because we had that for so long, it's like, oh, shit, all right, we're playing the Patriots. But then you have to, like, kind of hit the reset switch and be like, well, this is a completely different Patriots organization.
We got psychologically conditioned to like not want to play the Patriots.
Like Pavlov's dog.
Yes. And the Colts too. Like the Colts, they're not top contenders in the AFC either. And I was looking at that and I was like, man, the Patriots and the Colts not going to the playoffs. And I'm just like, Patriots and Colts, they used to be on TV on Sunday night every year, would be Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. And these would be the teams that you would see so often at night. And now it's like they've disappeared into that terrible middling twilight ground of noon games, which is where the Tennessee Titans have always been. I don't remember the last time I saw the Titans play at night. Do you?
No, I don't. Now that you just say it.
You want to know why, like, I'm hardly aware of the Tennessee Titans is because their games are never on at night. Even the Jets were getting games on at night, which is largely probably due to Aaron Rodgers. But we still, the Tennessee Titans are real. They exist. They're a team in the NFL. And we just Don't remember that. Mike Vrabel's dancing card is filling up. Former Titans head coach interviewed with the Jets last week, and he's set to interview for another on Wednesday, that being with the Bears. Sports Illustrated reports that the Saints have also been in contact with Vrabel. It's not surprising, considering his success with the Titans has led to multiple clubs. You have to remember they're all doing worse than the Titans were. The level of interest will make it somewhat surprising if the cycle ends up without Vrabel with a job. That would be nuts if he just didn't get picked to be anywhere. But it goes this way. It's kind of like a few years ago when NFL teams were negotiating with the cities that they live in, the host cities, for new accommodations about whether or not taxpayers would be fronting any part of the bill to build new stadiums. They used to say, well, we'll just go to Los Angeles. Los Angeles wants us out there. That's how teams or places like St. Louis and San Diego lose their teams.
And the Titans did a Monday Night Football this past season against the Dolphins.
Don't remember it.
Don't remember it either.
Dolphins also not a great team. Am I someone who's like, am I wrong for being prejudiced against the Dolphins as like being a not noteworthy football team?
But and to your point though, I didn't remember that they were on fucking Monday night.
Yeah. Well, Monday night's also not a great place. Like, I don't know. Not everyone has ESPN. I don't know. I guess maybe most people do. And maybe
it's funny. It
I'm
just
the only
seemed
one
like
that doesn't.
Seemed like it was forever since the Tennessee Titans have been on primetime.
Anyway, my point is that Vrabel can be used as sort of a negotiating chip by other coaches. Teams can say like, oh, we're not going to meet that salary demand because Mike Vrabel will take less. And they can use it to negotiate with other players and people and things. And ultimately, he can still wind up as the odd man out. He's just someone who's an attractive prospect. But you could be attractive and you could not be chosen, which explains me. All right. Nobody cared about that. I wanted to talk about Ohio State. Did you want to talk about Ohio State? Because it's like the Bengals are out. The Bengals have gone home. But they're the best team left in college football, and it's not even close, according to R.J. Young over at Fox Sports. What feelings do you have, if any, about the Buckeyes?
It sucks because they're going to play Friday, and I'm going to be at work. So I'll have to watch it at the Firehouse. But they put a complete shellacking on Oregon, who was the number one team in the country. And our first game of the season, Oregon beat us by 1 point. They won. We lost. Got it. But I think after Ohio State lost to Michigan, they really it tuned them up. They're like, all right, fuck this.
They're mad.
We're going after it. So now we have Texas on Friday at 7:30 Eastern. And I honestly think, it's not just because I'm a fan, I honestly think that we can beat Texas. I think it'll be a good game. Don't get me wrong, but I also thought
get tuned up. Are you going to get lit?
No, I'll be at the Firehouse. I can't.
Oh, for you, I just never assumed.
You had. I see what you did. Here, hold
Sorry. On. He's on duty right now, everyone.
This is all green screen.
This is all green screen. Ohio State is the best team left in the college football playoffs. It's not even close. As the quarterfinal round of the first ever 12-team college football playoffs came to a close, there was one overarching theme. This was a lot of fun. Did you have fun watching college football? Because I forgot to watch, as always.
I do. I mean, I do enjoy college football. I mean, not every game, but the big ones. The Texas-Arizona State game was phenomenal.
I saw some of it. I shouldn't say that I ignored all of it. And I did watch way more college football this year than ever before. Penn State kicked off the quarterfinal round with an impressive 31-14 victory over Boise State, in which they held the Heisman runner-up Ashton Jeanty to a season-low 104 rushing yards on 30 carries, an average of just 3.5 yards per carry. Jeanty finished 27 yards shy of Barry Sanders' FBS single-season rushing yards, thanks to a brilliant defense performed by the Nittany Lions. New Year's Day kicked off with a double overtime thriller between Texas and Arizona State, in which Quinn Ewers connected with Matthew Golden for a memorable 28-yard touchdown throw on 4th and 13 to force his second overtime. I always love second overtime.
Right.
We should also do an episode in the summertime of talking about which overtime is better, NFL or college. Then it was Andrew Mukabaugh who secured a game-winning interception to secure the game for the Longhorns. The nightcap featured a dominant showing by Ohio State freshman phenom Jeremiah Smith, who torched Oregon's defense with 7 receptions for a season-high 187 yards and a pair of receiving touchdowns, 45 and 43 yards. That's a nice game to watch. The Buckeyes ended the Ducks' perfect season after losing to Oregon 32-31 in the regular season, which is a game that you mentioned. Then in the final game of the quarterfinal round, Riley Leonard and Notre Dame put together a memorable performance to defeat Georgia 23-10 in the Sugar Bowl. The victory came in the wake of the deadly terror attack in New Orleans early Wednesday, which is when the game was scheduled to be played. This led to the first postponement of the Sugar Bowl in history. With that, here's a look at my top takeaways. I'm probably not going to go through all of those, but I will talk about Ohio State.
We got Bosco in the chats. He's a huge Georgia fan, and I just put in the chats that I was rooting for Georgia. I got a buddy of mine that lived in Georgia, came up here, and then moved back. Huge Georgia fan, so I've been following them, just on the perimeter. And Bosco, I was thinking about you because I hate Notre Dame with every ounce of, not as much as Michigan, but I hate Notre Dame, and I was hoping Georgia would win. But you're right, they didn't even show up.
Ohio State is the best team left in the college football playoff. It's not even close. Did you know that Purdue didn't win a single game against an FBS opponent in 2024? Did you know that Ohio State led Purdue by 21 at halftime of its 45-0 railroading of the Boilermakers? Did you know that Oregon did not lose a single game in 2024? Yes, because it was in this article, dude. Did you know that Ohio State led Oregon by 26 at halftime and made it certain that the Ducks lost their first game of the season, 41-24 at the Rose Bowl? Well, now you know. You know how to measure the turn for the Buckeyes from simply a desire to win to becoming desperate to win. And that's what you need to remember. I wonder if they are kind of keyed up because Michigan won the championship last year. And then now the Wolverines kind of suck a little bit. And so there's like blood in the water. And although they did lose to the Wolverines, they can still go out and make a statement by winning the season. In fact, you would argue for any other football team that winning the championship would be bigger than beating your rivalry. But you guys there in Ohio, you're all a little bit different.
It is way different. I mean,
something in your water there.
Well, it's in the Flint water.
It's in the it's leaching around. You can forget about the Buckeyes phenom Jeremiah Smith breaking Chris Carter's freshman record for receiving yards and receiving touchdowns, or that he has turned into Thanos with his hand snug in the Infinity Gauntlet and postseason of all 5 gems. I'm going to tell you something. That kid's 18 years old.
He's a true freshman and is absolutely unbelievable.
I'm glad that was your take before mine, because I was going to say it's so sad that we're in an era where sports commentary is sent through the filter of a Marvel movie. Like, really? Like, the touchdown for cultural references, something that everyone can understand, is a Marvel movie, comic book thing. I can remember the Infinity Wars being a comic book thing in the late 90s, early 2000s, or whenever that was coming out. It had to have been the 90s. Iron Man not even on the cover of those magazines. And it's something really nerdy and dorky, and something that nobody gave a fuck about, this big crossover event. But now, because of these movies, you even have these sports writers who are like, hey, this is just like Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. To someone like me, who's really not with it, and someone who's not really paying attention to a lot that's going on, I've seen those movies. But the idea now that Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet is an apt metaphor for Ohio State really weirds me out.
I love it.
Anyway, other people could forget about it. So there's a lot going on for Ohio State. They're the best team, I guess. Here's something that's better. He says, like Odysseus after the Greeks won the Trojan War. This is what I want to see. I want to see classic references. The Buckeyes still must make it home. The ships that didn't crash, they burned. The only way home to their queen, to their family, to stave off the suitors and sackers, posers and pundits, to your beloved city, is to take the crown. Ohio State is a team of men who can't go home without winning it all. No, the only way is through, and that's enough. See, that was a much stronger finish.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that.
Than him saying, like, it's like Tony Stark floating out in space. He's got to start the engines. Come on, guys. I don't want to hear that. We can look at the playoffs, or did you want to have like some therapy time?
Yeah, we're dealing with here in Bengaldom. We're dealing with the same shit. And with your thumbnail, which I appreciate, fucker, for me on Front Street.
Well,
poor Bengals. The Bengals.
the reason I put you on Front Street, or like the you think that I'm not putting you down. The show that I'm on right now is based in Cincinnati.
I know.
So what if I had put CeeDee Lamb looking sad on there? I'm just like, well, I'm definitely not going to attract the key audience of One More and I'm Out of Here with that thumbnail.
We're all over the place, bud. We're all over the place.
All right.
But no, I mean, we finished the season strong, like your thumbnail said, and we needed some help to get into the playoffs. And fucking Kansas City Chiefs, you know why I hate them.
Well, they fucked you over.
Now I hate them even more.
They got literally shut out.
They literally laid down completely.
They laid down. They got shut out, which must have gave you all kinds of hope. I mean, you were probably watching that game, probably believing that the Broncos would win. But the fact that they just didn't even try.
Right.
And that kind of got you juiced up. But there was more than that you needed to get in the postseason, right? And was there another team that needed to not win or win or something?
We needed Miami to lose.
You needed Miami to lose, and they lost to the Patriots, right?
No, they were playing the Jets.
Oh, the Jets, and they lost to the Jets, didn't they?
Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers went out on top.
I have to go back and look because, like, as soon as I realized that the Patriots are laying down, I just kind of checked out because I mean that box wasn't going to get hit, so we knew it was over. But we're going through some major shit now because the Bengals fired 4 of their coaches. Our defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo's gone. Frank Pollock, offensive line coach, gone. Linebackers coach and another one. So they just, I mean, that next day they just cleaned house as per normal. I mean, that usually happens. So it's like, all right, our defense sucked for the most part, but you had Trey Hendrickson, who is leading the league in sacks on a fucking 9-8 fucking football team. Our secondary was not great, but our offense, Joe Burrow leading in all the stats for the most part. Jamar Chase triple crown. T. Higgins had a decent year. He's hurt a little bit. So we've got some things in the offseason that we've got to figure out because we got to pay Chase and we got to pay Higgins and figure out a way. But there's been talks and articles that were written that apparently Burrow, Chase, and Higgins have all like kind of gotten together, had in their little fraternity, but have gone to the front office saying, "Hey, we'll figure some things out to keep," because they want to keep T. Higgins. All 3 of them want to stay together. So I think Burrow and Chase are going to figure out a way to make that happen. At least that's the way it seems. Now, I could be.
It's weird that you have collective bargaining to help the establishment. That's strange.
Well, Mike Brown he's spent some money. The front office has spent some money in the last couple of years, but that's not what we're used to. But I honestly think I could see Joe Burrow restructuring his contract because he signed a huge one. He would restructure. I think Chase would take a little bit less than what he could get to keep T, even on a shorter deal, just for a couple of years. Because, I mean, and not just being a homer, I mean, we're close. I mean, we're super close. All of our games that we lost were a touchdown or less. We started the season 1-4. And that's a Zach Taylor thing because Zach Taylor hasn't started out the first 5 games with a winning record, which is a problem in itself. But our offense, man, the amount of yards, the amount of points, there's just no reason we should have been 9-8. But it's football and it is what it is. So,
defense, got to address issues on the defense. What are you looking forward to draft in the defense?
See, we've got young guys in the secondary that I think are going to be good. They got thrown into positions that, into spots that they just weren't necessarily ready for, my opinion. Linebackers, we need to look at, some linebackers, but, our defensive line, it definitely needs some help. I didn't see what our outside of Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, he got hurt, but he didn't really put many numbers up like he has in years past. I think he's kind of, on that downward slide, as far as a professional player. I don't know. But, those are, the 2 ends and, the tackles. Just didn't get a whole lot of penetration on a lot of teams where we should have. So I'm also, not a complete football analyst, but just, watching week in and week out, it was Trey Hendrickson. That's all you saw, in the backfield going after the quarterback. You didn't get any penetration with a tackle, pushing, a guard, offensive guard, off or so. I mean, that part is frustrating. That inside line, I think, is an issue, but linebackers is definitely going to be an issue. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chats real quick to see what I missed.
That's okay. If I could be invited to talk about the Cowboys, I would.
Go ahead and talk about your Cowboys.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So in week 18, we started Trey Lance, which on face value is a really nice thing to do. We know we're going to be parting ways with Trey Lance, and what is his future looking like? He hasn't been able to show a lot other than preseason stuff, which wasn't very good. We're about to just part ways with him. The nice thing to do is to give him a chance to go out there and show other teams what he can do. Is Trey Lance a commodity that you should seek? Give him a chance to compete, especially in a meaningless situation. It's not going to hurt the Cowboys any win or lose this game, really. Give him a chance to go out there and show what he can do. Sounds like the right thing to do. However, by benching Cooper Rush was denied the statistic of getting 55% of the snaps to start.
I think that's bullshit.
Cooper Rush lost out on $500,000. Now we have to kind of couch this a little bit because, that's a lot of money for you and me, but it's not a lot of money for a backup quarterback, or it is a lot of money for him. And he's done well this season. So, he's doing what a backup quarterback should do and can do. Was he perfect? Was he perfect? No, I mean, he just did the best that he could do. And he's not a bad backup at all. When I've seen Cooper Rush play, I have some confidence in him. But the worst part about it is that after the game, when it became obvious to all these statistics analysts and people who watch the business from the outside looking in, they all came to Jerry Jones and said, what do you think about the benching of Cooper Rush and denying him $500,000? And he says, oh, I didn't even know.
Horse shit.
It's just, I get that you have to do right by Trey Lance. You have to give him an opportunity to show what he has. But you could also have given the start to Cooper Rush so that he earned that money, especially given how hard he's worked this year. Just seems like his feet got cut out from him under a little bit.
Can I interject?
Oh yeah, I mean,
No, it's with that. Trey Lance was not dubbed the backup quarterback. He did not win that position. He has this offseason and this training camp to be either the starter, the backup, or the third string. Cooper Rush was the fucking backup. And I think it's horseshit. Jerry Jones knew exactly where those numbers were. You can't tell me he didn't. And I think it's horseshit that they didn't allow that, because look at what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did for Mike Evans for $3 million. Last play of the game. They kept him in the game to get that last reception to get his $3 million bonus. And some of the people in the chats,
Jerry Rice's record, yeah.
Yeah. And some of the people in the chats that may not be aware, and I'm not trying to talk to you like you're stupid, but these guys have these contracts, and we see these numbers. But in those contracts, there's also incentives. So many receiving yards, and it's all negotiated, with their agents, and the team. But these guys are working hard to get those numbers, to get that extra money. Mm-hmm. And it's money we don't even see or know. Like, it's not, I mean, you could go and I'm sure deep dive and find it, what each player, what their incentives are in their contract. But for the most part, the general public doesn't care. They just know CeeDee Lamb's making $10 million a year, whatever it is. But in that, he can make more than that if given the opportunity. And I think, Jerry Jones and McCarthy completely fucked Cooper Rush. And I think it was obviously, in my opinion, a Jerry Jones decision where he told McCarthy, you're starting Trey. Because he's a money guy. I mean, that's
well, yeah. I think all these teams are, especially as you get to the end of the season, as people are approaching certain statistics. there's probably you probably have guys around you in your circle who sort of operate a dashboard for you, letting you know how close you are to spending certain amounts of money. Case in point, just to further contextualize it in another setting, but like Von Miller over the Buffalo Bills, he just got his 6th sack of the season, and that earned him $1.5 million of bonus because he sacked another guy. He reached a $1 million bonus earlier this season when he achieved 2 sacks. So he's literally getting paid millions of dollars to be able to run after that quarterback and take it down behind the line of scrimmage. And so as we reach the end of the season and we're reaching the final tally accumulation of all these statistics by various players at various things, no one's going to just say like, oh, I didn't know that $1 million or $1.5 million or $500,000 didn't go out the door. So I think it's possible that Jerry Jones very much did know that, and he would have done Cooper Rush very dirty. And I didn't appreciate that. Other things. Go on.
I saw an interview with Andrew Whitworth and Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't know if it was Whitworth's podcast or whatever, but it was a split screen. And Fitzpatrick being a quarterback and Whitworth being an offensive lineman, he was asking Fitzpatrick, he goes, do you look at where dudes are with their incentives? If somebody, a wide receiver or running, whoever comes up to the quarterback and says, hey, I'm this many catches away or this many yards away from my incentive, like, hey, man, give me the ball. And he was asking, because, Whitworth's like, offensive lineman, nobody gives a shit about us. It doesn't matter. But, for your position players like that, your specialty players, and Fitzpatrick's like, every team that I was on, we absolutely did. If I knew somebody was close, I was going to get them the ball. Let's get the whole team together. Hey, let's get this motherfucker paid. And
like you said with Mike Evans, it's just a way of saying thank you. I mean, to an organization, it really is chump change. It's something they agreed to do, but also it means something to the player to reward him for his hard work. It means something for the franchise that, hey, all these yards that you've racked up over the course of your career, it matters. And, you should have that payoff and all that. And Cooper Rush has been with the team for Dallas for many years, and he's been put into terrible situations backing up Dak Prescott and has gone out there and fared well.
And he's played well. Yes, exactly. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. And just to deny him that in order to give a shot to Trey Lance, who's someone who was probably a backup commodity himself, but you could have given the start to Cooper Rush, give him the start, have him go out there and do the first 2 drives, first half. And then you could still give Trey Lance a chance to go out there, and you can give him a whole half to put some film out there so people can see what he could do, particularly in an end game situation. If they're down from behind, how does he work in passing situations, which was perfect for him. That they were losing to the Redskins. That's a passing situation to try to catch up with points. It was a chance to shine.
First responder shit into this. Trey Lance, hey, new guy, you sit there and wait your turn. You're the new guy. You had your chance to try to win that position and win that spot. You didn't. So you'll have your time. You're young. Cooper Rush is not getting any younger.
Yeah. And who knows?
I like him a lot, even though he's beat the Bengals, but I like him a lot.
Yeah. I like him too. There was at one point some call from the fans that Cooper Rush should replace Dak. That just shows you how he's played well enough to impress the fans. He may not impress statisticians, and he may not be, he may not be starting quarterback material, but he has done very well. And so the other things with the Cowboys, I would say, there was nothing really to watch at the end of the season. All the starting players were out. They benched CeeDee Lamb the last couple of games so that he could heal his shoulder. They cut Ezekiel Elliott with a thought that by doing that, he would be able to sign with another team that could have postseason hopes.
Which he just signed with the Chargers.
Good for him for signing with the Chargers. I was going to say, I don't know who thinks that he still has gas in the tank, but maybe a desperate situation. Hopefully he can have something good happen to him over there in Los Angeles. But this will probably, I have to guess, would be Zeke's last season, and then he'll come back and
Chargers, because and the article that I read, and I got it late. I don't think I sent it to you. The Cowboys afforded him the option of releasing him so that way he could go to a playoff team.
That was why. But I think that was an example of maybe Jerry saying, I'm going to do right by a player. So We did just criticize him for his treatment of Cooper Rush, which is unfathomable and largely about money, whereas I don't think he was out any money by cutting Ezekiel Elliott.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it to me it's not equal in the end.
Yeah, but I guess go Chargers for his sake. There's also another player that I like on the Chargers that I don't think I've ever gotten to on here. But speaking of the playoffs,
Who is?
Trey Pipkins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't know who that is.
I don't
Playoffs.
Playoffs.
Nobody gets it. Let's look at the playoff picture, the NFC and the AFC. So, for those of you who don't understand how the playoffs work, there's two conferences in the NFL, and normally it doesn't even seem to matter because all the teams play each other, which is in direct defiance of my will. I would prefer the conference stay separate the entire season and only play each other during the Pro Bowl. But so it's divided to NFC and AFC, the separate conferences, and then based off of their performance, they each division can win seeds 1 through 4. And then after that, there's 3 wild card seats, which are just given to the second best teams in all divisions, and that's all based off of their records. And you have the strongest team first round bye. So we see here that Kansas City and Detroit they're already advanced to the divisional round. They're not going to play in the wild card round, which is this weekend. They stay home, they rest, they get a bye week, and they have the week off. So we're looking at action in the NFC where the Green Bay Packers, they are the 7th seed, the bottom seed. They're going to be facing the number 2 seed. So the Eagles are heavily favored to win that game. We'll see. Go Pack, go. That's all I have to say about that situation. The 6th seed and the 3rd seed, we're going to see, I believe this is the Sunday night game, Washington and Tampa Bay facing off. Yar. Go Buccaneers. I don't even know what their thing is. And I've been there, and I don't know. I don't think that they have enthusiasm. Minnesota Vikings and Los Angeles Rams. The Vikings, don't be fooled here. You see the Vikings are seeded 5 overall, but if life were fair, if the playoffs were simply seeded by strengths, the Vikings would be the number 2 team because they, as you saw on Sunday night, the Vikings and the Rams, or excuse me, the Lions, both the strongest teams facing off. No 2 teams had ever played in Week 18 with that many wins before, and it was easily the top 2 teams. Of course, the Vikings team that we saw play on Sunday night and their performance was not very good, and it definitely is blood in the water, and it's something that the Detroit Lions wanted to see. And frankly, I did too, because nothing's more annoying than a happy Vikings fan. So I would say, even though what you're looking at here is a 5th-seeded Minnesota team, they are probably heavily favored to beat the Rams still, I would guess, unless the stock in Minneapolis has dropped. That's the look at the NFC playoff picture with the Detroit Lions taking a week off. You will not see them in action if you're looking for the Detroit game this weekend. Over in the AFC, very annoying. The Chiefs somehow have taken the top spot despite not being very strong or vigorous contenders this year. They did manage to secure the best record. They're coming in at number 1. Number 2, Buffalo, easily arguable that they're the better team based off of their dynamic performance in all games. Their schedule, however, or their final season record was not as strong as Kansas City. It's very easy to look at this and see, well, Buffalo's not as good as Kansas City. That's really not necessarily true. Buffalo will be taking on Denver. Denver had kind of an amazing season. They exceeded expectations, definitely, and they'll be favored to win against Denver, but Denver could play spoiler here and advance to the next round. We're going to see a rematch, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. This is always unusual when it happens, but these guys have already played each other twice this year. They're in the same division, the AFC North. However, it has worked out according to their seeds that they will play each other again in the postseason, with Pittsburgh being the number 6 seed and Baltimore being the 3rd seed. Baltimore, also a strong contender, could easily be the best team. The AFC was kind of like the NFC this year. The NFC had Detroit and Minnesota in tight contention for who would be the top spot, but the AFC also kind of heavily top-loaded with teams who could all easily make the claim that they're the best team. So Baltimore will be more heavily favored to win that game than you could probably guess. And then Houston and Los Angeles Chargers.
That one's going to be a tough one.
These are going to be more middling. It's harder to say which of these teams is better because they kind of fall more into the middle of the pack there. But it could be anyone's game. I would be happy to see either team win. to be honest with you. When it comes to the postseason play, I always enjoy watching the AFC games more because I'm not nervous about it. And I don't have to be nervous about the NFC playoffs this year because I don't see a blue star anywhere here. But the AFC playoff games, I always can sit down and watch. And for me, that's popcorn football. That's when you see the best teams going up against each other, playing like it's do or die, because it literally is. So the playoffs are the best time of year. You're going to see nothing but the best teams playing off against each other. And I'm hoping to see a strong team advance to playing against Kansas City. It will be either Los Angeles or it will be Houston. If it's LA, Keith, could you look up real quick to see if the Chargers beat Kansas City even one time this year? Because they would have played them twice. They're division rivals as well. Houston has kind of fallen short of expectations in contrast to Denver. And so it's hard to know if Houston could pull off a win. However, with Kansas City not being a very strong number one overall team, their point differential this year was abysmal, to the point where you were getting all kinds of fun statistics about how much the Chiefs suck. And Patrick Mahomes did not go to the Pro Bowl. I don't know why we didn't have a full episode about that, about Patrick Mahomes being so hated that NFL fans everywhere basically voted against him by voting for other people.
Let's see, December 8th, 24, Chargers 17, Chiefs 19. And then September 29th of 24, Chiefs 17, Chargers 10. So
Okay.
touchdown or 2 points.
So if I had to guess, I would say that the Kansas City Chiefs have an advantage going in over the Chargers, which you would guess based off of the seeds. But playoffs are different, and teams can play spoiler.
Are we going to make playoff picks?
We're about to.
Okay.
But I should mention that typically, I think teams with the number one overall seed go to the Super Bowl like 70% of the time.
Yeah.
So they're heavily favored, and getting that round to rest. And Detroit obviously needs that, given their extensive injuries and problems. Getting that chance to
Jill Billy in the chat says, "I want the Lions to win because I appreciate their struggle, and I'd like to see Dan Campbell openly weep on national television."
Yeah, it would be interesting, and I don't see the emotional part of it, but like let's look at this in terms of some history. So history could be made. The Detroit Lions are the only team in the NFC, the only team of 16 teams in the NFC to never even appear in the Super Bowl. Name a shitty team in the NFC. They've been to the Super Bowl. The only ones that haven't are the Detroit Lions. They've never even made it there. So by advancing to the Super Bowl, history would be made just by being slated to appear in the Super Bowl.
That city will go
City will burn down. It will be a no man's land. You guys
kind of like it used to be.
You guys will finally build that wall that you've been clamoring for between Michigan and Ohio. It'll be a safety thing now rather than just a distaste thing. Minnesota Vikings are a team that has appeared in the Super Bowl, I believe, 4 times, but they have never won. So if the Vikings are able to make it past the Rams, past the Lions, they will be in a position where they could head to the Super Bowl. That would be huge for them. However, they could be spoilers from the AFC side. Other teams here with historical prospects. The Eagles have won the Super Bowl once. Green Bay has won it 4 times. Tampa Bay has won it twice, both times since the Cowboys last one. Rams, I believe, have 2 or 3. Rams are Super Bowl contenders fairly regularly. For the AFC side, there's some super interesting things here. The Houston Texans are a relatively young team. They've only been around since 2002. They have also never been to the Super Bowl. And Keith, I think the Chargers went back in the 80s, didn't they?
I believe so.
They didn't win. I don't think that they've ever won a Super Bowl. So the idea that Houston or the Los Angeles Chargers could possibly advance past the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl would be very, very interesting historically. Both Baltimore and Pittsburgh have been to the Super Bowl and won. Pittsburgh has 5 Super Bowls, the same number as the Cowboys. So you could bet I'll be rooting against any team that is playing against Pittsburgh. Broncos.
95 was when the Chargers played the 49ers and they got beat.
There you go. I knew they had been in there at one point.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Denver has been there quite a few times. I think most recently they won Super Bowl 50 with Peyton Manning. And of course, Buffalo. Probably no one here has more, maybe Detroit, Buffalo, but they went to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row, which has never occurred for any other team. They went 4 times in a row. We went 4 times in a row in the 90s. If you've never seen the documentary, The Four Falls of Buffalo, you should watch it.
Yes.
But Buffalo went 4 times in a row, which is a feat never duplicated.
Poor Jim Kelly.
Poor Jim Kelly. Poor Scott Norwood.
Yeah, and Scott Norwood.
But the 1990s Buffalo Bills team were one of the best football teams in the history of the NFL. Everyone looks at them and laughs because they went to the Super Bowl 4 times and lost, but they went 4 times in a row, which is a feat that Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have never pulled off. They went 4 times in a row. I still play Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, Thurman Thomas. You throw to Thurman Thomas all the time.
Thurman Thomas or that one Raiders player, what's his name? Bo Jackson.
Yeah, or Bo if you're playing.
Bo Jackson's like a cheat code for Tecmo Bowl. Like if you're playing the Raiders, you don't have a chance. Anyway, so Buffalo could definitely shake off some bad juju here, some bad memories. If they can advance back to the Super Bowl, first of all, that's them going back for the first time since the same era as the Cowboys. The last time they were there, I believe, would have been 1994 when they lost to the Cowboys. But they went 4 times in a row. They lost twice to the Cowboys. And Buffalo has been suffering really ever since, particularly in the era of Tom Brady and the Patriots. But now Buffalo has been showing dominance in the AFC East, and a return to the Super Bowl, particularly getting past the Chiefs, would be huge. They've been huge rivals for the Chiefs in recent years. We can recall many great divisional games with the Chiefs and other playoff games with the Chiefs that have been stunning to watch. So if you're going to be looking forward to any particular game, I would say in this playoffs is the prospect of the Buffalo Bills facing the Chiefs again, possibly. And the Lions and the Vikings managing to make history. Those are some interesting aspects for the playoffs. And of course, the Green Bay Packers, youngest team to ever make the playoffs last year and this year, remain the youngest. Eagles, just proof that the evil will of man is happening on the face of the earth. I don't know what to tell you. Should have been the Cowboys there. But then I would have probably been triggered into some sort of Vietnam type PTSD reaction, which I passed out, and blood's coming from me from more than one place. So should we make our picks? What's the first game up this weekend? Do you know?
I don't have this game.
I think it's Chargers Texans. And again, that's the hardest game to pick. That's on Saturday at 3:30 Eastern. I'm gonna have to go Chargers.
Ooh, I'm gonna go Houston.
Wait a minute. I gotta stop. We gotta stop. Everybody, stop. Stop what we're doing. Stop what we're doing. I'm not standing by that. We're starting over. That was a mulligan.
All right.
We have to talk about the current state of things with
that's
you and me, because in the last week that we picked, week 16, I fumbled big time and went 8-8. Keith surges ahead to .693 after being a friggin' loser all season long. Has a great week 16 in which he even chose the Cowboys to beat the Buccaneers. And I know you went to bed and didn't see the end of that game, but holy shit, the Cowboys pulled off that win, which further puts you beyond me. And I stumbled to .679. What this means in terms of numbers is, first of all, that means that Keith was winning. But it means we don't have a full slate of NFL games from here on out.
It's an asterisk.
It's not an asterisk. It's a plus for you. So I pretty much have to get everything right. I have to capitalize on every key failure, because you have to remember that the way that we tally the score is like, if we both get a game right, it doesn't help either one of us. I have to succeed. We can
keep the regular season with an asterisk here.
Well, that's because you want to say, well, I won the regular season.
No, with an asterisk, like it doesn't really count because we didn't do a full season.
That's true.
I'm being fair to you. I mean, I could say, oh yeah, I whooped your ass, bitch, but I'm not going to do that.
You know that I would cry in the air if you said those words to me. I don't know, because I see it as
however you want to do it, because we missed the last 2 weeks, and I get
see it, but I see it as fair, because it's like, if we took this so seriously, which we obviously don't, we would have been texting back and forth. We would have been like figuring out what our picks were. We would.
Next year is changing.
Next year's changing. Yeah,
we'll be serious.
Well, we'll start in preseason even.
Yes.
But like, we weren't touching base with each other. We're just like, and there was even a week in the middle where we missed a week because I don't know, it was illness or something, but there was a week where we didn't pick either. So I was like, we're not looking at these statistics, don't represent 18 weeks of football. In fact, we didn't even start until week 4 because because I wanted to see where things were going. I don't want to just pick wild ass like in week 1 you're going to pick the winners. Like what is that based off of? It's not based off of anything but luck. So I wanted to establish a month of football before I start seeing, which teams are actually good so I can make educated guesses.
Mhm.
And so we're missing about maybe 5 or 6 weeks of football here in these final statistics. But I think that was all by choice. So we have to live with that, which means I have to live with the failure. So, right. So now I'm like probably 5 games behind you, which is, I don't want to say that no lead is safe, but your lead might be safe just because, again, it doesn't matter if I pick a game right. You literally have to pick the same game wrong. And these games are so unpickable now because anyone could win any of these games. There's no team that's clearly, at least in my mind or in most people's minds, that are clearly favored to win. The only exception that I would say, of course, is the number 7 teams. Ever since the playoffs expanded to having a 7th seed, historically those teams have not done well, which means the prospect is grim statistically for Green Bay and for Denver. They could still win the wild card round, which would be a stunner, but historically that hasn't happened. But the other thing to mention is that just we haven't had the 7th seed for that many years. But so those are the only, the 7th seed games are the ones that are probably the easiest to pick. Other than that, anyone could go. And so we could just call it now and give you the regular season win, which I would deserve because how many times did I pick the Cowboys to lose and they won? We call that just desserts in some quarters. So
we can roll through. We can roll through the playoffs. That's fine.
Okay.
I like it.
I guess I would like the chance to redeem myself. It's almost like when someone wins at cards and then they get up and leave, and then you want a chance to win your money back. I want a chance to win the money back. So if you wouldn't mind sitting down and playing another round,
Keith, let's do it.
Acknowledging that you as the regular season came to an end, you just managed to
know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
You brilliantly played your hand to win. All right. So with that in mind, I can't just because the way that it's structured, I can't just, if I pick after you every time, I obviously have to just pick the opposite team of you, and there's no strategy in that. Like it's going to be obvious that I have to exploit the situation as much as possible, because if I lose, well, then I've already lost. So what I have to do is essentially pick the team that's opposite of you. But do you see what I'm saying? Like if you just go first every time, then I don't have to actually think about anything.
So we'll alternate.
We'll alternate. So would you like to go first? As the winner of the regular season, I'll let you choose to either accept the ball or defer.
I'll accept the ball.
So you get to pick first. Go ahead.
And are we starting AFC?
Well, I was going to go in order, but
go in order. Which I don't know what.
Well, I was just going to go in order of play, which would mean Saturday at 3:30, the Chargers and the Texans.
Okay, I will take the Texans.
Okay, obviously, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick the Chargers. All right, so and then the next game is Saturday night with Steelers and Ravens. I have to pick first. I'm going to pick the Ravens.
I'm also picking the Ravens.
Okay. On Sunday at noon, Broncos and Bills. Go ahead, Keith.
I'm going Bills.
Well, I'm not fucking picking the Broncos. Honestly, I have to though, don't I?
I mean,
all right. So I'll split my decision just for clarity purposes. I believe the Bills are going to win, but I hereby select the Broncos because I'm trying to beat Keith.
Right. It's a numbers game.
All right, and then of course I get to pick the Eagles to beat the Packers on Sunday at 3:30. Again, not because I care about the Eagles. In fact, I want them to lose.
It's numbers.
But who do you choose, Packers or Eagles?
I have to go Eagles.
And then Sunday night at 7, the most important game for some reason, they're showing this one, which I wouldn't think would be the game that they would want to do that with, but Redskins and Buccaneers.
Is it me? It's me.
It's your turn to pick, right?
Bucks.
Again, I just have to be strategic here. I must pick the Redskins. And then the final game of this wild card round would be Vikings and Rams on Monday.
This is a tough one.
And am I supposed to go first?
Yeah, it's you.
Shit.
Oh shit!
I'm gonna pick the Vikings.
I'll pick the Rams.
I figured you would, just because
mean,
the Vikings' performance last week really led a lot of head shaking. It was very, very unclear, very troublesome. The performance. I'm sure Vikings fans were very disappointed, but I cannot empathize with them.
I cannot.
I don't,
and I will not.
All right. Well, successful episode. I guess I would say we ran a little bit overtime, but that's okay around here.
Ooh, overtime. I like what you did there.
Yes, you can see that I did a little sport thing. Anything else?
Deadleg even pulled a little sport thing into the show earlier. He was like, as the goalpost moves, I was like, ooh, I see what you did there.
I'm sure that he didn't hear that at a football game. I'm sure that just somehow came to him otherwise. All right, folks. That's it for us here on Illegal Shift. We will catch up with you next week. We look forward to watching some postseason football, enjoying that. Make sure that you be safe, be smart, make good decisions.
Next episode of One More.
There you go. I was going to ask about that.
One More, and I'm out of here. Tomorrow, Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Thursday at 5 p.m. Thursday at I think it's 2 p.m. I'll have a special episode of me just talking about something that I thought was nuts. Dropping on the Fox. Eastern? Yeah, it'll just be in the afternoon, Thursday afternoon. It'll drop in the Fox News feed about something I saw in the news that I thought was nuts. And it's already a couple weeks old and no one's paying attention to it. And so if you want to hear a John rant, you'll be able to hear that drop on Thursday. I chose to not put my content out at the same time as this or Eric's episode today because I don't want to compete with listens. But if you want something to listen to on Thursday and you like the smooth, silky sound of my voice, getting upset about the federal government, just check out your Fox News feed. That's where you can find it. Otherwise, we'll be back here next week, and you can catch Failure to Stop on Friday for another big case breakdown.
Are you going live tomorrow, or just is it recorded and just playing?
Oh, for Comm Center?
Yes.
Oh, we will be live.
And for your rant, both.
My rant has already been recorded.
Okay. All right. Damn.
Well, I'll send it to you if you want to hear it now. But Comm Center will be live on Thursday night. This because we wanted to record on Tuesday and we were not ready to record. So we'll be live on Thursday. We brought back the after show for those of you who know what that is. We appreciate it. If you wanted to check us out over on Comm Center, we will be looking for you there. If there's nothing else, we will say goodbye, Kiefer.
Sir, I've missed you.
I've missed you too.
I love you.
I love you with all my heart.
Don't lay down behind any cars.
Sometimes it hurts so much that I cry. No, Happy New Year to you and Jill, and we'll all be watching and waiting for President Trump to hopefully become the 47th president. I was delighted that nothing happened on Jan 6. I was kind of waiting for some sort of ironic something to occur, but it looks like the liberals, the wackos, just had no gumption to do anything that day. You know why they didn't?
Why?
Because it's cold outside.
It was uncomfortable.
They're like, we're angry, but we're not that angry. We're gonna stay inside and we're gonna just go over to Starbucks and get our little
and go on strike.
We're gonna go on strike and have our barista Kevin, tell us what the specials of the day are. All right, petering out as usual. We will catch you back here next week for another episode of Illegal Shift. Go me.
See you guys. Thank you. Go John.
Go Chargers. I guess we'll catch you next time. Bye.
See ya.